It's 22 minutes to 7 on breakfast. A new report into the state of New Zealand's inshore fishing paints a bleak picture and says recreational fishing needs an overhaul in order to be sustainable. The report, titled The Future Catch, says catch limits need to be a possible recreational licence could be introduced to help fund management of the sector. Now, that hasn't gone down so well with anglers, but the report's author, Dr. Randall Bess, is with us this morning. Tēnā koe, good morning.
Good morning.
Could you just start off by talking us through the process for your study?
Well, the study we refer to as the fisheries project, and it's been going on for a year and a half. And it's culminated in a series of reports. The first one looked at the situation in New Zealand, where your comments were most applicable. Then I went overseas to look at some comparisons, particularly in North America and Western Australia, where we wanted to find out, well, how have other jurisdictions really dealt with kind of the similar challenges in New Zealand. And then the third report, the Future Catch, was launched last night. And it has the series of recommendations that we think are really important to improve the recreational fishing experience now and for the future generation. So the recommendations really start off with calling for the government and all the fishing sectors, commercial, recreational, and customary, to work better together in terms of that inshore space where they're competing often for the same fish stocks.
Yeah.
And we're saying that there's a real need for everyone to work together to improve fisheries for all fishing sectors.
So what is the state of our inshore fishing stocks?
Well, when you compare them to overseas, they're generally in pretty good shape, but there's always room for improvement. We're seeing some real signs of depletion. Obviously, with the Cray 2 stock, that's down. The scallops at the top of the South Island, blue cod. There's a few that are looking like we really need to give them more attention, and the same goes with Snapper 1. While it's improved greatly from where it has been in the past, it's still well below its abundance target. So we really do need to look seriously at what actions need to be put in place for that stock to reach its target.
So apart from better communication between various government and concerned agencies, what do we need to do? Well,
there's a number of things that we may need to do in terms of looking at our standard practices. As we've seen in the media, there's a lot of public concern about the commercial misreporting and illegal discarding and high grading of some catches. That definitely is a problem that has to be resolved. But also in terms of the recreational catch, it's substantial. It's about 36% of the total catch. And, I'm calling for us to look at reviewing our practices, the minimum legal size, the requirement to actually discard undersized fish. What is that actually doing for rebuilding the stock? Is it beneficial or not?
See, I find that really interesting. When I first looked at your report and you wanted to consider the minimum legal size, I assumed that you'd want to see us catching larger fish, but actually it's the opposite. You're saying that in discarding undersized snapper, for example, often those fish don't survive.
Often they don't. To a large extent, it depends on at what depth they were caught. If they were caught at much more than 20 meters, what's called barotrauma kicks in. It's the bladder inside the fish expands and can even explode, and so the fish can even come up to the surface.
And so you're actually better to have, if you were a fisher person, you are better to have a small snapper and have that count towards your daily catch limit rather than throwing it back and then catching a larger one when the small one's going to die as well.
They may die. When we look at the research for overseas, the mortality rate can be 50–60%.
Yeah.
And there's also, the mortality rate can be kind of after the fact, that you can watch the fish swim away.
Right.
And often they can still die. So what we need is actually more research to drive the debate about what to do.
Okay, thanks so much for your time this morning, Randall. That's really interesting. Dr. Randall Bess there with us this morning.
That is really fascinating, isn't it?
Well, when you think about the catch limit, you think, oh, well, presumably we're going to need a larger fish. That's where my mind immediately went, but actually it's the opposite to that. And, you know, if indeed we need more money in order to better manage our recreational fishing stocks, would you be opposed to paying for a licence, a recreational fishing licence in the ocean, just as you do with freshwater?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even catch the small ones. I don't know what's gone wrong with my fishing. It's just, I try all the different bait. It's just not good. Anywho, I want